Hello? Alright. Hi guys. I'm going to start off by asking a question. So my question is, show of hands. How many of you were taught how to pray? And what I mean by taught is like either your cell group leader or your pastor, like explain what prayer is. Okay. I think Jack did for some of the original impact. So, well, the reason why I'm asking that is, to be honest, I don't think I was ever taught how to pray. There wasn't a session or a class or any kind of step-by-step. So as a young Christian, when I first came to the Lord, what I did was basically, I can still remember really vividly, that when I went to Jack's cell group or Johnny and Shelly, I would just copy whatever they said. I was like, okay, you know what, Johnny's gonna say something, like, I'm afraid to talk, I don't know what to say. So I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut, and then when we're praying, I'm just in the back. I'm like, eventually Johnny will say something and it'll be all good. So that's what I was thinking. I know that they were telling us that we had to pray and that it's a connection to God, but there wasn't much in my mind that I know at the time of what things I had to say or what kind of relationship I had to build. So as I became, an older Christian by reading the Bible and asking questions and having it answered by my cell group leaders, I realized that, there's a God and He's intimate. He's our Father. And there's Jesus Christ that, died for us on the cross. And not only that, it's where, when we pray, God wants to listen to you. It's not just, things that we're saying. He yearns for the connection with each and every one of us. He wants to hear what we have to say. He wants to share our day. He wants to share our struggles. And that was, fascinating, but at the same time confusing. I'm like, I'm really not that interesting. I don't really have that much to say to God. I don't even know if I have a lot to say to other people. Like when you're sharing about yourself, I'm not one to talk about my past, talk about my childhood. I'd rather listen to what other people are saying. That's how I build relationships. And it got a little confusing. I'm like, okay, God's not really talking, so how am I supposed to understand him? Reading the Bible is a little confusing at times too. There's a lot of history in there. I'm like, okay, this doesn't really apply to me. And then it got a little bit better when I started reading the New Testament, so that was great. So basically, what I want to share about my testimony is, as my prayer life started to progress, something miraculous happened. It was the first time that I really experienced God answering my prayer. So what happened was Daph was in the hospital. Yeah. As some of you may know, Daph and I got married a couple years ago and we were trying to have a kid, and then basically Daph needed a surgery, so I'm gonna cut this really short. She needed a surgery, we're at the hospital, we're praying, and we're praying really hard. I think it's one of the first time that I pray constantly for hours. And I was like, God, we need some peace, we need, clarity, we need direction. And then, even though we were praying, the two of us in the hospital, there wasn't an overcoming peace for us. It was more we trust in you, this is what we're taught, this is what we know, and then that we really need some guidance. So I remember something that Johnny said. I think he said something where you can ask God for confirmation. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this. I read this in the Bible, so I walked over to the window, on the fourth floor, and I'm looking down, God, if you're going to give us peace and everything's going to be okay, we're going to have a kid later on, because the doctor told us that, it's going to be very hard for you guys to have kids, I need you to, give me a miracle. So I prayed, and I was like, I need to see a red car drive by, right? And then, out of nowhere, the window's only this big, so you only get, a partial view. And a red car really, drove by, from the side I was saying. I was like, okay, looking at the parking lot, there's probably, 5 red cars. So I'm like, okay, that doesn't really work. Red cars, there might be a lot. I'm like, okay, let me pick a color that nobody wants. Really, nobody's really driving. I want a green. I want not a dark green. I want some kind of lighter green. Some weird color that nobody's gonna drive. And I was like, okay, I'm praying really hard, and then Dad's lying on the bed, she's resting. I'm like, all right, God, I really need you to come through. And then 2 seconds later, nothing happens. I'm like, all right, so what now? And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna go back and comfort Dad and let her rest. And then the nurse comes in about maybe an hour later, and she's like, oh, she has to get ready for surgery. The doctor's here, and we've been waiting for I think 12 hours. So I was walking back to the window and just kind of figuring out what I should do, because I still didn't really feel any peace in my heart. And the funny thing is, when I looked out the window, there was 2 green cars parked on the side of the window that I was asking God for. And to me, I think a lot of it was me convincing myself. Like if it was just driving by, I might not have seen it. But if it's parked there, it's not really gonna go anywhere. So it's like, instead of just one, I saw two. So I was like, all right, cool. God, that's your confirmation for me. I'm convincing myself. I'm like, at this point, I'll take anything. So I did. And I was like, hey, cool. And then I told Dad, like, you know what, you're gonna be fine. I was trying to encourage her. And then they started like, telling her like all the procedures. They kind of scare you a little bit, like, you gotta sign this. If anything happens, we're not liable, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. All right, so needless to say, you guys know I have a daughter, Chloe, so that's what God blessing there right there. So we're really happy about that. And the second testimony I wanted to share is a little bit more about my personal. So when I first started praying, I basically just closed my eyes and asked God for things. Like, God, I want this. I want my wife to be better. I want, me to get more money. I want, a lot of the things I was asking. I don't really know what to pray. I just kind of, did what I did as a child. Like, you're asking your own father, like, I want this. Can you give it to me? I want that. Oh, that was cool. Like, I want that too. And then that's what I did for a while. And I remember the first time that I sat down and I was like jobless for a while and I was asking God for a job. And I remember like, what Johnny was saying, that you could ask for confirmation. So I was like, cool, let me try this out. Let me, give God a time frame and like request all the things I want. So the things I asked the first time was, God, I want to be paid this amount. I want it to be like really close to my house. I don't want to drive really far. And I want a better title. I wanted to like, I was like, let's say a PM before. I wanted to be like, manager or something, that sounded cool. So that's the thing I asked for. And needless to say, I didn't get the job. I had interviews, but I didn't get the job. And I was like, okay, what's going on here? I've been praying for a whole week. I put like a lot of time into this. Like, was I not specific enough and telling God, like, did he not understand that I want a job close to my house, that pay me good money? What's going on here? So, everything else later on, as you grow, as you become an older Christian, I realized that, one verse that really resonated with me is where it says, this is the confidence we have in approaching God, that if we've asked anything according to his will, he hears us. And that's John 5:13-14. So this time around, when I came back to the States, I grew and I became wise as well. I'm not going to pray the same way I prayed before, because God's not going to give me what I want. So I'm like, you know what, let me change it up a little bit. So basically this time around, I prayed, I'm like, God, put me in a place where I can glorify your kingdom. A position where my abilities, like I know what my strengths are and, my background, like as electronic and sales, so like, utilize my abilities, that I could use these things and, be productive in my job and also share the gospel. And it's funny how, a lot of times you think that there's a lot of opportunities in front of you. But God is able to kind of shut off all the other things that distract you and basically, direct you towards where he wants you to go. So I had other job interviews, but nobody really, wanted to call me back, or, maybe I wasn't the perfect fit. But this job that I got, was where that they kept on writing email back and forth, and even though it took like about 2 months, I was like, wow, why is it taking so long? But the interaction just kept on going, and, eventually when I got it, it felt right that, God is leading me here. And the final thing I want to leave everybody is where I was saying earlier, where God not only wants to listen to you, he wants to build a relationship. So originally when I first became Christian, and I think a lot of you might have this experience too, where I felt obligated to pray. I felt like there was a task. I felt like if I didn't pray today, I wasn't doing, what a son should do. I wasn't, I might not go to heaven or certain things. Like I felt like there's a lot of things that I have to do as a Christian and felt obligated. Certain things I couldn't do. And then I didn't realize this until, I started listening to Jack and other sermons I hear about. It's like, when was the last time that you felt that it was a privilege to talk to God? Like from the Bible, it talks about, Jesus went on the cross and the veil was torn so that we have access to this God. And it asked one great question that I never really thought about. Like, what if tomorrow or what if later on you weren't able to speak to God? What would that be like? And it never really crossed my mind. I'm just thinking like, okay, I'm talking here, and that's pretty much it. But the more you develop this, the more you kind of, engage in this conversation and, this relationship, there are blessings that God gives you because you ask for it. There are blessings that a father wants. I feel that now because I'm a father. Like I want to give my daughter certain things, but I can't just give it to her. You know, she has to be good in some sense. I can't be like, okay, you know what, you didn't do much, but here's like, you know, toys that you want to play with. Here's things. You know, like I keep it away from her, and I'm like, you got to do good, so I can, you know, like give you something, and it feels good to her too.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I have to show. Thank you very much.